I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like this.
I have to start off asking you guys about the fight training that you went through for this, because the fight scenes are mind-blowing.
Thank you, thank you. We had sometimes 5 days a week fight training, and then we also had, you know, personal training outside of that, just to get conditioning and things like that and achieve our specific character goals.
Yeah, we did a lot of training. We had an array of fights and different fights. So then when we go on set, we go, oh wait, let's take a bit of that, let's take a bit of this, let's speak of that. It was like kind of like structure, but then fluidity within it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the women in this film are amazing, absolutely amazing. So what was it like to have such a well-balanced cast like that?
It was phenomenal. It was a breath of fresh air, because you know so often when you have, it's Black Panther, you know, and he's there, and there may be one lady love or something to the side, you know, and you show up to do one particular thing or to wish him well as he goes off to save the day. But to be so intricately woven within this fabric of this world, so vitally important to the survival of this nation, to this people, it was just tremendously inspiring, and it's perfect for a nation that has not been colonized, that's 100 years, you know, ahead of everyone else, that they would, you know, that they would have evolved to where there are no boundaries set based on, you know, sex or age or anything, but your contribution, your voice, your intellect, your talents are appreciated, and they're supported, and they're on display.
The justification for Klaue, I'm curious how you justify that character and what he does.
Well, all good villains, you know, all villains, not good villains, all villains morally justify their existence, don't they? Because they believe that their route in life is actually fine and okay. And he really does, I think, believe that Wakanda is a place of hypocrisy. He believes that it needs to be uncovered. The truth needs to be told about it, because it passes itself off as a third world country, and yet it is, you know, a very, very rich. You know, the people there are sitting on huge wealth. So he because material things mean more to him than perhaps on the spectrum, probably more than any other character, it's important for him to expose that.
What was your reaction to seeing the set? Because the world building in this is really detailed.
It was like amazing. It was kind of like, I was just so, but I get that on set, so I'm just so impressed by the set designers and set builders, and I just think it's one of the greatest sets I've ever seen. Yeah. Because it was so ambitious and so specific and so detailed, and it was like, and it was like, and it's regal. You know what I mean? It's like, I've never seen anything like it.
On the varying sets, so like, you know, when I saw one of the sets I appreciated the most was the waterfall one that we're in, and we actually had a basin and actual water falling down and some cliffs and rock formations. I'm like, this is amazing. And I thought that was cool until I saw the whole thing, and it looked like, you know, the Victoria Falls or something in Africa, and I was like, my God. Also the costume, all the people in the markets, all these things, it was actually quite beautiful.
I mean, it was like, I worked in two of the sets, and one of the Warriors Falls set was so impressive. I mean, the waterfalls falling around us, everyone standing on the thing, the beautiful direction, our direction, and the costumes and stuff of all the different tribes all standing together. The drummers over here on the side. It was
drumming in between setups, you know, and everyone swaying and moving and you know, and vocalizing. It was like no other set I'd ever been on, and it was spontaneous, and it was just indicative of where we're from, you know, from where we come. It was a beautiful day. But watching the movie and seeing the Garden of the Earth, that was lovely. You know, I wanted to visit that, though. You know, I was
and that was practical.
Why isn't the Queen there at that moment? As
If she chose to, she could have been.
Yeah. It seemed like a very secret,
Little Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was beautifully directed, art directed. I mean, you could take the plants out and move them around. It was amazing.
It was. She, our production designer, Hannah Beefler, she did a magnificent job. Of course, the production designer is always ahead of you on the day. They're gone on to the next set, and you just show up on the day. And of course, you can imagine a movie like this. There's a lot of CGI or blue screen, but she gave us so much to just.
Really
to touch, to feel, to be inspired by, going up to Jabari land and, that throne room. It's like,
That was great.
yes, So you didn't, she gave you just everything you needed. So that was so impressive.
It was great. It was a friendly set. It was an exciting set because everyone, I think, had the same goal in mind, which was to make this as good as humanly possible. We knew it was a film that was being very, very anticipated, and that was exciting in itself. It was, and you got to work with people you've admired. You got to work with people you've never seen or met before, who you got to admire in the course of it. And it was great.
And what was it like working with Ryan as a director?
He's special, man. He's a special director. I mean, he made this at 30 years old. He's an outlier, but he's also an everyman. He's an everyday dude. So you can see him and you can just chill with him, and you can talk to him about basketball, or music, or X, Y, Z, and then he'll get into your ear about the characters. You think it's a normal conversation, and then he'll get into what the character's about, and then you're like, oh, light bulb in my head, let's go down this road,
And he has a cool kind of poetic musical style about the way he directs, kind of like a composer. So he listens very closely. He'll say things, and he takes it in. I even remember from the audition for M'Baku, I would check in a couple times while I'm doing my thing, and he's not even watching, he's listening, and then he'd come with me with a note. And I was like, that's actually really interesting and refreshing, because I feel like I'm actually being heard. And even if he might not be watching me, I feel like I'm actually being seen,
He's the most delightful human being, really genuinely lovely human being who is... is a natural filmmaker. I mean, he really does understand performance and how to get performance and how to elicit performance from actors without ever being, a dictator in any way, shape, or form. So you really feel like you own the characters and that you can collaborate with him. He's remarkable and with that creates an amazing energy on set.
So how deep did you guys go into the comic mythology here to prep for this?
I'm shamed. Should I be shamed to say? Not too deep.
No,
not too deep.
I live in the same space. I looked it up on the internet and looked up.
Yeah.
I had read a few of the books before, the comic books, a couple of them, and I was looking at the character and stuff to see the way he was depicted and what was going on with him, and then I started to create the character from there.
I had one Black Panther, comic many years, maybe 18 or 19 years ago, because there was always, talk and anticipation of this, of wanting this to be made. So did have one of the comic books, but
Wesley was supposed to do it, or trying to do it at one point. Yeah.
It was a fair amount. I mean, it was important to know how Ulysses Klaue fitted into the Black Panther world, and going back as far as Age of Ultron, I had to know even back then, how he sat in the world, and then to not be too sort of hemmed in by it, So obviously the script and the film is a different kettle of fish to the actual comics, so you can't get too hamstrung by that, But you certainly there's a lot of relevant information in there.
There was for a bit for Everett Ross, but while respecting that source material, ours is not that. I think it's pretty different. I think, and I was very happy for it to be different because I wanted a slightly more sober approach, I suppose.
And I just have to ask you about the audience reaction when you guys saw the film for the first time. What was that like?
It's crazy, man.
Oh God.
It was crazy. It was everyone. It was, I don't know. Like it was
surreal.
weird because everyone had their phones, didn't have their phones with them. So it was just love. Like it was just people coming up to, oh my God, it's amazing. It was just.
This guy was sitting right behind me, slapping me on the shoulder, like screaming in my ear.
Yeah,
like,
anything amazing he did, I'd be like, yeah! Do you need water? Do you want some water? Have some water.
Oh, okay.
You sure?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh no,
Yeah, it's all-
Allergy attack.
it's all good.
You
I
good?
think they're wrapping me anyway. No, I'm good.
You can take this. It's free.
Oh no, I'm good.
I will not charge you.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just like incredibly surreal, and watching yourself and watching these people who are also in the room with you. So I'm like reaching back and like screaming at him, like, you know, in the dark while his scenes are up. I'm like, that's you! You know what I mean? So it's really cool, and it's just, you know, we had a kind of cool family bonding situation.